Aloha and welcome to the beautiful island of Oahu. We're here for another edition of
Who Closed Last Night, brought to you by Walnut Street Hospitality Group.
My name is Stan.
And I'm Zach.
And we're here to hopefully enlighten you, tell a few stories, make you laugh. I'm not sure if we can constantly make you laugh, but we're going to try. We're going to tell you the whole thing here is to maybe help you learn a lesson or get a shortcut that we didn't have.
That's right. I know for myself that I've fallen down on my face many a times, and lucky enough for me that I've had someone like my father right here to help me see the steps I need to take to get to where I need to be and get back on track. So hopefully we can share some of those lessons with you guys and stop you guys from having such a bruised face.
Road rash isn't pretty.
That's right.
So before we get started, we need your help. Obviously, we'd love to get viewers. We'd love to grow. And how the heck do people get a hold of us?
So it's very easy. It won't cost you anything, and it'll help us out tremendously. So if I can have everybody out there on the interweb, just stop what you're doing, follow, like, and share. You can find us on whoclosedlastnight_. That'll be for Instagram and TikTok. You can find us on Facebook at Who Closed Last Night. Watch us on YouTube at Who Closed Last Night Podcast, and listen to us on Spotify. And my favorite out of all of these options is you can send us your topic, your story that you can't get out of your head of, walking into the kitchen in the morning and seeing it a mess, or just seeing something you can't believe. Go ahead and send that to us at whoclosedlastnightpod, POD, @gmail.com, and we'd love to feature your story with our audience.
Every time, well, most of the time when people listen to this and they think, oh, who closed last night? Must be a negative story. It could be a great story, a positive story, an uplifting story. It doesn't have to be a negative story. So today, what we're going to talk about is fear. And fear is one of those things that every entrepreneur lives with. If they've, or anyone that's trying something outside of their comfort zone, they live with fear. And a lot of people let fear stop them. And then there's others that it's not that they're not afraid, they just don't let it stop them.
That's right. Fear, uncertainty, doubt, they can kill your dreams before they start.
That's usually the case. That's why people don't start, is because they're afraid. So the question really is there ever a time as an entrepreneur or business owner or manager that you don't feel fear? Fear of losing your business, fear of being sued, fear of trusting, fear of not trusting. The list of fears is endless. But how do you deal with all of those fears, and can you deal with all of those fears? That's the question that we're going to talk about briefly for today.
That's a big question.
It's a fearful question. As an entrepreneur, I can tell you that I pretty much start off with fear every day. But I don't let it stop me. What do I eat for breakfast? That's the first fear. And how much do I weigh? So that's the second fear. But everybody has some sort of fear. You can have the fear of losing the job that you have. You don't have to be an entrepreneur for that. You can have the fear of what's your day going to be like. Maybe there was something left over from the day before that didn't end right, and you just need to kind of close it up or get past that fear level. But you have to conquer it. You can't let it stop you. If you ever want to grow, if you ever want to be a business owner or manager or an entrepreneur.
That's right. Fear can't dictate your life. You've got to learn to deal with it, live with it, and hopefully overcome it in a strategic way. I know for myself, fear, I have a relationship with fear, as many of you do out there, and that can be as much fear as will I have good staff here next month, right? With the staffing market the way they are. And I'm blessed to have a great team. The other fear would be, some people might have this, is, whether they can pay the bills at the end of the month, depending on what kind of job you have. I know the service industry's been hurting lately.
I think the fear that everyone starts with when they want to be an entrepreneur or a business leader is, how do I leave my secure job for something that's not
Guaranteed.
right? And I would tell you, your job isn't guaranteed, right? I mean,
I was just gonna say, I could hear it. You said nothing's guaranteed.
nothing is guaranteed. And I mean, if you just look back, a few months now, all the layoffs that were happening, and we're in 2024 right now, but
That's right.
it's been tough. The fear of who's going to be the next president, the fear of change.
The fear of AI coming in and taking everybody's job.
Yeah, and that's a big fear. I think
It's already happening some places.
it is. It is. But once you conquered one fear, you got to move on to the next one. There is no time when fear is not on the horizon, and it's up to you to push it away.
Double dose of fear. That's
Double
a day.
it's a triple dose of
Yeah.
fear. But I heard this story.
They're hurdles, right?
They're hurdles, just like anything else, right?
I'm not a track star by any means, but fear is hurdles. Don't let them stop you from completing the race.
Well, there's three ways to get over a hurdle. You just go over it like you're supposed to. You run into it and knock it down and keep running, or you run around it.
There you go.
You got to get past that hurdle. So I heard this story, and this is something that I thought was pretty interesting, because sometimes I feel like the fear that I have, no one else gets. And so I was reading this story, and this guy, he's a general contractor, construction general contractor. And he went to a convention of general contractors, and he ran into one of his old friends and someone who used to be, or I guess still was, his mentor. And his mentor said to him, "Hey, what's going on? You look a little frazzled." And he said, "Well, I think I'm going to have to file bankruptcy, because I have all of these receivables out there. And if I don't get them paid in the next 10 days, I'm going to have to lay off my teams. And of course, then people aren't going to want to hire me. The people that work for me aren't going to be loyal to me." And his mentor said to him, and this comes back to some conversations that I've had with my mentors. His mentor said to him, "Look," he laughed and he said, "if every 4 or 5 years you don't feel like you're about to go bankrupt, you're not trying or growing or expanding enough. And you just need to push through it and not give up."
Wow, I bet in his shoes in that moment, that was like almost a huge weight lifted off his shoulders, right? That someone could relate to that, but not only relate to that, but persevere, push past it, and say, "Hey, I know this is uncharted territory for you, but I've sailed around the world a couple times. Let me show you how it's done."
And that's exactly what he said. He said he left that meeting feeling like, "Oh my God, there's a light at the end of the tunnel.
It's not such a big storm.
It's not such a big storm." So what are the fears that keep people from living their full potential? Economic uncertainty,
I know we all feel that.
general fear of failure, right? Everybody
Yeah.
thinks that if I fail, people are going to talk shit about me.
And if you don't agree with that, you're just lying to yourself. I know we all feel that. I know a conversation I had with my mom, and I would have never guessed this. But growing up, she worked a job or whatever, and she told me later in life, a couple years ago, "Man, every day I went into work thinking I was going to get fired." And I just never would have guessed that she felt that way.
Yeah.
Being a kid, just thinking like she's got everything under control and not thinking about that at all.
I think even nowadays it might be even more prevalent, because I think people aren't used to dealing in person with issues, because they're sitting in front of a computer terminal. They're
Behind a phone?
Behind a phone. They're not in front of someone. And I think it's like sending a text. You get the verbiage, but you don't get the message.
It's not a communication. It's not a business communication. Like you said, you set the message, but you didn't give it any context. You can't feel the tone. You can't look into someone's eyes that you trust. It's the whole package.
I think for me, one of the biggest fears of that I have is the fear of not trying. like of not living up to my full potential. You know, I mean, I got to tell you that I don't feel like I'm at my full potential now, and sometimes I feel like I just gotta keep going, but it's fearful.
That's a very interesting insight. The fear of not trying. Would you say that that's like the fear of not turning over every rock or not pushing like full steam all the time?
I think for me, it's more of a personal fear. Did I reach my full potential? Or did I quit before I reached my full potential? Or did I just get fat and sassy and lay around and say, yeah, I'm there, I'm good, I'm done?
Fat and sassy.
Fat and sassy. I remember, and this was 30 years ago, you know, it was when I opened my first restaurant. And me and a chef, we had no money, none, no money at all.
I remember the memories of some of these places.
Yes, no money, undercapitalized, going into a market that was predominantly Caucasian, and obviously I'm not, and my chef partner was not, it was a mess. I mean,
nothing but a vision and a passion.
A vision, passion, and fear.
A lot of fear.
A lot of fear, just a whole lot of fear. And at that time, I didn't really have a mentor that I could go to because...
I got to stop you and just ask, what made you want to just hop out and do that? If you didn't have a mentor, right? You didn't had a podcast or a book, to give you the steps. What pushed you in that direction where you're like, I could do this?
Well, it's kind of funny. So, you know, when you work in food and beverage, and I worked in a hotel at the time, and we worked all kinds of hours. You know, hotels are open all the time. So there's parties, there's breakfast, there's dinner, there's the bar, there's all of this stuff. And one day, well, my friend and I, he was the chef that I went into business with. We, after work, we went out and had a drink, and he said, we should be doing this for ourselves. And of course, I said in my infinite wisdom, well, why don't you whip out your checkbook and let's go? And he said, I ain't got no money. And I said, well, shit, that makes two of us. So we put a business plan together and started to look for people that might invest.
Okay.
And at the end of the day, we hardly came up with any money, but we came up with enough money to get this one restaurant a couple states away. It was kind of a cool restaurant, but we were in way over our heads, way over our heads. And we were undercapitalized. It just sucked. I mean, from the second week in, you know, you always think, oh, we're going to open the doors. People are going to be storming in here.
That's what you think.
That is what you think, and it certainly isn't true. But at the end of the day, he survived. I survived. We didn't survive together, but we both survived. And I would just tell you that that's what it is. You survive, and then you brush yourself off, and you say, what's next? And, you know, you go do it. And
I didn't die.
I didn't die. And I learned a few big lessons, and I'm going to do it again.
And not fall victim to those shortcomings.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not the undercapitalized thing, because when you got a vision and got some passion, you know what's
going
to stop you.
Yeah.
What's going to stop you?
So I don't know, what kind of fears do you have?
I think you just touched on it. One of them, and that is, you know, you open a restaurant and you think people are just going to line up at the door, or it's going to be the same in this neighborhood as that neighborhood. I remember coming on board, and we were opening a second restaurant, and I was just waiting for the guests to come in, right? And I think one of my first lessons of entrepreneurship and maybe restaurateur was that just doesn't happen. But that doesn't mean you can't make it happen. And I think that's when people get lost. What efforts do you put forth to make that vision come to a reality, right? And so I remember things like passing out samples, right? I had this one guy. This guy could sell salt to a slug. He was a happy, jolly, strong guy from New York. And the light would turn red, and he would run out there with a sample of some barbecue sauce and be like, "Hey, here's this. Here's the menu. Come join us. We have parking right behind the street or right behind the building."
Yep.
And we did that. We visited surf shops. We visited other small local business, see how we could help each other. And I guess that was a big lesson to take away was, all right, so nobody's beating down the door, but what are you doing to line them up outside, right? And I think, so the fear is not being successful.
I think that's always a big fear, but I think the fear that everybody feels, it's not really, it's about ego, right? It's about failure and what you think failure is and what you think people will say if you fail. And I think it's better to fail and have tried than to the rest of the sheep out there sleeping
Never tried it
that
at all.
never try. And I think that's the difference between people that got a little passion, entrepreneurs, people that have a path that they want to travel. But what I would say is do not let fear stop you from being the best you can be. That would be my message. What do you think? What would you like people to think about?
I think that what I would like people to think about is just like you said, is that there's a lot of sheep out there. And I'm not saying that in a derogatory means at all, but if you have something in your head that you think that everybody would love or that would separate you from everybody else, I think you should take that vision and that passion and exploit it. I think you should try to make it work for you. I think that you shouldn't let fear trap you in a bottle like a genie, right? Life's too short to not believe in yourself. And then not only believe in yourself, run as fast as you can chasing that dream down, right? Because no one else is going to chase that dream down for you.
So the trick here is to learn to live with fear, learn to overcome your fear, and know that you're going to have failure. Failure's coming for you no matter what.
That's right.
It's how you deal with the failure and the fear. Just got to keep going.
Nothing's guaranteed, so why not fail for yourself than fail for someone else?
How do people get a hold of us again?
It's truly very simple. It'll take almost nothing from you, and it would help us out a lot. If you just stop what you're doing out there, follow, like, and share us, and I'm going to tell you where to go. You can find us on Instagram and TikTok at whoclosedlastnight_. You can look us up on Facebook and follow what we're doing at Who Closed Last Night. Watch us on YouTube and listen to us on Spotify at Who Closed Last Night Podcast. And you can send us your positive, rewarding story or your nightmare of a story or topics that you would like to hear us talk about to our email account at whoclosedlastnightpod, P-O-D, @gmail.com. And we would love to share that with our audience and laugh with you, cry with you, relate with you.
So with that being said, we always get some comments, and normally they're like blasting us out of our seats. They don't agree with us, or they don't agree. I should say they don't agree with me because I'm a boomer. I'm an old person.
You had some praise there.
But I have had some praise here. But one of the things that we talked about was, what kind of person are you when no one's looking? And I think what we came up with this question, if you're in a grocery store parking lot, do you take your cart back to the cart corral? And if you run across another cart, do you take it with you? And I thought we would get more response in this, but this one person said, yes, I would take both carts back. Now, you're my kind of person.
I'd like to add, because I found myself in a grocery store parking lot the other day, and I offered to take someone else's cart back because I needed a cart. So why not help someone else out on my way into the grocery store? And we didn't list that as an option, but kind of thinking outside the box here.
Yeah, well, it helped them out. It helped you out. Why not?
Why not?
What's good for one is good for all. Or what's good for all is good for one. Just be good. So we're at the end of this, and we always end with one word, especially when we're in Honolulu. And that one word is aloha.